What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kilo Loco, and today I got something real special for you. So we're going to be working with AWS Lambda, and we're going to actually be writing our Lambda in Swift, which is really cool. Now, if you're not familiar with AWS Lambda, you can think of it as like a cloud function where you are able to trigger some type of event and then your code runs, and then whatever your code does, it just goes. So I'm going to show you an example of that today. And the reason why you would want to work with something like a Lambda is because there are a lot of times where you actually need a backend, and Lambda can actually replace a backend if you want to. And I'm going to kind of show you how you do that. But essentially, anybody that was ever interested in writing, server-side Swift, whether it be, Vapor or Katura or Perfect or whatever you want, this is kind of like another option, except you don't have to worry about spinning up a server. You only have to worry about creating a Lambda. Now, I made a CLI that is going to make it so much easier for you to create that Lambda, and we're going to actually go through those steps today, trigger our Lambda from an iOS app, and you're going to see the whole entire process. It's actually extremely easy now that we have the CLI. So if you're curious why you would use a Lambda, there are a lot of times where you are almost required to use a backend. And one of those examples would be like if you wanted to verify a receipt from an in-app purchase, or if you wanted to send push notifications, you need to have some type of backend. And this Lambda can act as that backend. So like I said, we're going to cover everything here today. We won't be covering those specific examples that I just named. If you're interested in seeing videos on that, make sure you leave a like on this video so that I know that this is a topic that you guys want to go further in. If we get over 100 likes in the first week, then I will definitely make a video on one of those topics, whatever you guys leave in the comments. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. Now, the very first thing that we want to do is make sure that we have SLaM installed on our computer. And SLaM is this CLI that I created this past week that's called Swift Lambda Maker. And all it's going to do is it's going to essentially make it so that you can easily create a Swift Lambda project, which it uses SPM. And it allows you to package that project into a Dockerfile. Now, don't worry, I don't know a whole lot about Docker. You won't really need to know anything about Docker to get started, but there are some prerequisites. You're gonna need Swift 5.3 or higher. You could probably get away with using 5.0 and higher, but I recommend 5.3. And then you're gonna need Docker. So you're gonna want to actually install Docker right here. You go over here to Docker Desktop, it's free. Just get Docker Desktop, make sure that you go through the things to get it all set up, and you're gonna be good to go. You don't really need to know anything about Docker. That's what this does for you. So first things first, you just get it installed. You clone the repo, you change directory into that repo that you just cloned, and then you run make. It's gonna install it. You can take a look at the make file. Nothing too crazy going on in there. Simply running Swift build and install into your local bin. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to actually want to make a directory where you're going to keep this project in the terminal. So let's go over to the terminal, and as you can see, we're in a directory, but I want to make a new one. I'll just go ahead and follow the documentation, copy and paste, make directory, my first Lambda. I'll hit enter. I'm going to change directory into my first Lambda, and then I'm going to run SLaM new. So this is going to create the actual project, the Swift package for us, and we can open that package with Z period, and it's going to open up our project in Xcode. So once our project's all opened up, you're going to see that it's just your basic Swift package, but there are a couple of added files, and we made sure that the type is executable. So you'll be able to see some of the differences right here that we're using specifically 5.3. That's why I recommended 5.3. And you're going to see that we do have the Swift Lambda runtime right here added as a dependency. And then we have the AWS Lambda runtime right here and the AWS Lambda events right here added under the dependencies of the target. So those are some of the differences. Platform also is Mac OS, so that's another difference. And then we have this package.sh. This is a script that does some Docker stuff. And then we have this Dockerfile as well. So these are like all the dependencies that are needed in order to create the Dockerfile. So I'm showing all this stuff to you just so that you're aware of it, because you can technically just make this from a Swift package by itself, and then you can, just copy and paste it, or you could type them out or whatever you want. Nothing special is really going on. It just kind of eliminates that step for you. Now back over here in main, you can see that we have our Lambda. If you were to actually run this, then you would be able to get a hello world. So what we want to do is we'll go ahead and edit our schema, and then we're going to add an environment variable right here. And this is so that we can actually test out this Lambda locally. So go ahead and enter in the keyword local Lambda server enabled, and you're going to set the value to true. So you want it to look like that, and once you have it set like that, we can go ahead and close it, we can run, and then we get an output that looks something like this. So I know this may be new to a lot of the iOS developers that are watching, so I'm gonna just walk through it. What it's saying is that we're running a local Lambda server, and you can actually interact with that server on port 127001 or port 7000 on this whatever. And you can access it by calling /invoke. Now, if you wanted to test this out, you can do it in the terminal with curl, but I think more people are going to be more familiar with Postman, so that's what I'll show you with. All right, so if you have Postman, you can try it out right here. And what we want to do is we want to do a post request, and then we want to pass in this address right here, which is 127.001.7000. And we're going to just pass that in right here. We want to do the /invoke so that we can trigger the Lambda. And then over here in the body, we need to make sure that we send some type of data. So I'll just go ahead and since this is a hello world, right? This is basically a hello world. It's going to say hello and then whatever the payload that comes from the data that we're sending right here. So in this case, I'm going to say hello, and then my name is Kyle. So let's go ahead and send that. And then as you can see, we get the response right here, hello Kyle. And if we wanted to just make sure that this was updated, we can just go ahead and do oh hi, and we can run it again. All right, we're up and running. And if we just do send, we should see that it's updated. So that's pretty much all you need to do in order to get a hello world running with this, with SLaM. So I think that's really cool. We're gonna do something a little bit slightly more complex just so you can get an idea of some of the things that you can do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a movie class, and that movie is just gonna have a title on it. So let's go ahead and add that struct in now. All right, so as you can see here, we have our simple movie struct. It's codable and it just has a title, right? So our payload can be anything that is decodable. So we are going to be sending some type of payload up to our Lambda, just like any API request, right? And the payload has to be decodable. So string is obviously decodable, but we want to actually accept our movie. So if you do codable, encodable, and decodable, then obviously it conforms to decodable. So now we're going to be receiving a movie, and our payload, what we want to do is let's go ahead and return back a list of movies. So what we'll do is we'll send up a movie, and then we'll return back a list of movies with our new movie added to it. All right, so as you can see, I simply changed the type of payload to be of type movie, and then we're just gonna create a variable called movies, and then we'll just simply append our payload to that movie. All kinds of ways that you could have done this, but I thought that this would illustrate it the best. And then now what we want to do is return our movies, right? So what we have to do is we have to change the completion, and we have to essentially change this to an array of movies, because that's what's going to go back to the caller. So the caller is going to make this request, it's going to send up a movie, and we have to return something back. We don't want to return a string, we want to return an array of movies. So now that we have that, this is our result, and we want to just simply say success, and we'll pass in the movies as the success. So if we go ahead and run this, and after it finishes building, what we can do is we can go back over to Postman, and now we have to change our payload, because if we try to send this isn't gonna work. You try to send it, you get an error, right? We have to send up a movie essentially. So we do that by sending the JSON that essentially represents a movie. So we need to send some JSON up that has a title and a value. All right, so as you can see, we have our title, which we're calling it that because that's what it has to be, right? And then we have the value for the title. So let's go ahead and press send. And as you can see, it returns back an array of JSON where we have Greenland, we have Hunter Hunter, and we have Wonder Woman 84. Saw those first two, didn't get to see Wonder Woman 84, but I want to see it in the near future. But anyway, okay, back over here. So now we have our Lambda all set up, and this is everything that we want to do to it, right? So once you're done editing your Lambda, you can either keep this open or close it. I'm just going to go ahead and close it, make sure I stop the task. And also what I want to do is I want to make sure that I uncheck the schema. I just want to make sure that that's unchecked. I don't think it makes a difference, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So I'm going to uncheck that right there. And what we'll do is we'll head back over to the terminal. And now that I have my Lambda ready, I am just going to call SLaM setup image. So this is going to set up a Docker image for us. So give the image whatever name that you want to give it. I'm just going to call it my first Lambda image. Like that. I would follow the lowercase naming convention. I'm not sure what the naming convention rules are for Docker images, but I'd follow this convention right here. So I'm going to call it my first Lambda image, and this may take a while depending on your system, but after it's done, you should get, you know, some type of pop-up that says that it's done. So if you wanted to check if the Lambda image has been created, you can just simply run Docker images, and that will show you all your images. As you can see, mine is right here, right there. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to kill this, and I'm going to simply run SLaM export. And once you run SLaM export, you need to enter in the same name that you just entered in to create the image. So whatever you called the image, you just pass that in right here. So I called mine my first Lambda image. I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter, and it's gonna start building the package. Now this will take a long time. It has to go through and build it. It has to download dependencies and all kinds of craziness. So you may wanna take a step away from your computer. It could take like 3 to 5 minutes, and then come back and it should be done. All right, so mine took about 2 to 3 minutes, and you can see like after it was able to successfully do a process, it will spit out like all the logs that of everything that went down in the background. So as you can see, we have the Lambda package, and it also lets you know where you can find that zip file that we're going to actually be using shortly. So if you want to know exactly where that zip file that you're going to be using to upload to the Lambda, you can find it right here. So that's pretty much all you have to do in regards to the local part, right? But now we actually need to take this Docker image that we just zipped up, and we need to put that on AWS. So let's go ahead and go over to aws.com. You're going to go ahead and sign in. And once you're signed in, you're gonna look for Lambda. You can find it by just searching up here, Lambda, like that. Go ahead and click on it. You'll go ahead and go up to create function. You're gonna do author from scratch, and then you call it whatever you want. So I'll call it my first Lambda. And the runtime, what you really need to do, you need to make sure that you do this right. And let me just move this over here so that I'm not blocking anything. You really want to get this right. You want to go to provide your own bootstrap on Amazon Linux 2. So you select that, and then I think that's all you really need to do. Just make sure that create new role with basic Lambda permissions is selected, and you should be good to go. Don't need any advanced settings. You just create the function from there. All right, that took about like 20 seconds to finish creating it, but we have my first Lambda here. And then down right here where you see function code, you would go to actions, and you're gonna go to upload a zip file. Now it's gonna recommend that you, upload it to S3, Amazon S3, and then upload it here. just simply because it's going to be bigger than 10 megabytes, but we're not obeying rules today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our project, and you can see that's one of my other ones, and just go to where the Lambda was stored. All right, so I'm finally at my root directory. I'm gonna go to my Lambda directory, and if you don't see the .build scripts, then what you need to do is you need to hit Command Shift and then period, and then that's gonna show you your secret folders, anything that's prefixed with a period. So we're gonna go to .build, you're gonna go to Lambda, you're gonna go to the only folder in there, and you're gonna select the lambda.zip file. So select that one, and you're gonna go to save. All right, and that's pretty much it. Your Lambda has been uploaded to Lambda, AWS Lambda. So you're pretty much done. After this point, this is where, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, everything will deviate. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the easiest way that I know how to trigger this Lambda to actually get it up and working with a real world URL. So the easiest way that I know how to do it is to actually use API Gateway. You don't need to follow these steps, but I'm going to show you how to work with API Gateway to trigger the Lambda so we can use it in an iOS app. So we'll just open up aws.com again. Have to sign in again. And what we're going to do is we're going to be working with API Gateway. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create an API. So what we want to do is we want to create a new REST API. This one we'll build. And you could call it whatever you want. And make sure that new API is selected. You call it whatever you want. We'll just say regional, and we'll do create API. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to actions. We're going to do create resource. No, create method, maybe. Yeah, method, and then we'll do post. We want to do a post method. Then we'll hit the check mark. It will create a new one. We'll do integrated type Lambda function. And we're going to specify the Lambda function that we want to use. So we can just give it the name that we created with our Lambda function like this. We'll paste it here, and we're going to save it. It's going to tell you what the ARN is, and you just want to verify that that's right. I know that it is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simply test this. So we can test this locally before we deploy and actually have a real world URL. So we can test, and remember, in the request body, just like we did with Postman, we need to create a new movie. So we're going to send in a movie object. Deadpool was the first thing that came to mind. So as you can see, we have the title, we have the value, and we're just going to go ahead and test that. When we run it, we can see that we get our array back with our 3 movies. So the first 2 that are automatically hard-coded, and then whatever we sent is in there last. So we have Greenland, Hunter x Hunter, and then Deadpool. So really cool stuff. Now that we see that our API is working with our Lambda, we simply go over here, we go to deploy API. We're gonna enter in a new stage. We call it whatever you want. I'll call mine dev, and you just simply go to deploy. Once it's deployed, it will give you the URL, which you can invoke, and this is a live working URL. I'm going to delete this afterwards, so if you try it, it's not going to work, just because I don't want you guys to be blowing it up. But essentially, you'll take this URL and you can open up an iOS app and start using it there. So I'm going to go to my iOS app and open that Xcode up. All right, so I opened up my iOS app, which I already had set up and ready to start working with whatever backend we ended up with. So as you can see, I have our movie object pretty similar to what we have over in our Lambda already ready to go. We have just a basic list, and then I have a basic HStack where I'm just simply having a field where I can enter in something and then press send, and then send that value up to our Lambda. So over here, we're just going to do a simple URL request, and we're going to make sure that it's a post method, and then we create our movie, we create that data, put it into the HTTP body, and then we're going to do a data task. And if we're able to do that, then we should get back an array of movies, in which case we'll just set that to movies and we'll remove the text. And test.resume. You can't forget that one, right? So for the path, all we need to do is we need to just simply take this URL right here and we'll paste it right there. So assuming that all works, let's go ahead and run our app. All right, so as you can see, it's all running and I have a cursor right here. I can start typing. So another movie is, let's say, Black Widow, something that never made it out. Black Widow, and we hit send. And as you can see, we get back Greenland, Hunter x Hunter, and then whatever we just entered, which is Black Widow. So that is probably the simplest example that I can show you on how to use Lambda and get up and running. I think this is as easy as it's going to get in order to essentially create a backend with using serverless Swift. And we were able to do this extremely quickly. Like I said, this is going to be super helpful for those of you that need to have a backend in order to do things like verify receipts for subscriptions if you have in-app purchases and things like that, or if you wanted to send push notifications, which is a video that I'll be covering very soon, and just a lot of different back-end requirements. So this is the thing to go to. You're writing Swift all the way through. It's really easy. You have SLaM to help you get up and running, and hopefully this video is super helpful to you in the future. So that's going to be it for today. If you have any other recommendations for videos that you want to have covered, then make sure you leave them in the description. If I get more than 100 likes on this video within the first week, then what I'll do is I'll make a video covering how to do like verifying in-app purchases or something like that. So thanks again for your time. Now go out there and keep coding passionately.